Bernardino Conference Center, killing 14 innocent people, wounding at least 21, the deadliest mass shooting incident in this country since Sandy Hook. President Obama addressed the horror. He did not seem overcome with grief, as he did after Newtown, or visibly angry, as he did after that gunman in Oregon murdered 10 people. Instead, the president today seemed almost dejected, frustrated that he was again addressing another mass shooting in America. CNN senior Washington correspondent Joe Johns was in the Oval Office when President Obama addressed the California massacre not long ago. Joe, how did the president seem to you in the room?
Jake, I think you could say the president was tentative and muted. Tentative in talking about the investigation because his top advisors had been tentative in what they were able to tell him. Muted, perhaps, in talking about policy, the issue of gun control, because his aides said he's frustrated. He's had to do this so many times over the course of his entire administration. President Obama ordered flags at half-staff in honor of the San Bernardino victims and issued a statement in the Oval Office surrounded by his national security team, trying to be reassuring but full of uncertainty after briefings from his Attorney General and FBI Director.
At this stage, we do not yet know why this terrible event occurred.
And that's the key question, still unanswered. What was the motive?
It is possible that this was terrorist related, but we don't know. It's also possible that this was workplace related.
And then again, with reports that dead suspect Syed Farouk was radicalized and in touch with overseas terror contacts, the administration, like law enforcement, is still holding out the possibility that other factors were in play.
There may be mixed motives involved in this, which makes the investigation more complicated. But rest assured that we will get to the bottom of this.
But even with that, cautions from across the administration against a rush to judgment.
He was specifically had in mind that people should not jump to conclusions, that he's not going to jump to conclusions, investigators are not going to jump to conclusions.
Turning to policy, Mr. Obama was back to pressing Congress on gun laws, on what he's called the most frustrating domestic policy fight of his presidency.
So many Americans sometimes feel as if there's nothing we can do about it. It's going to be important for all of us, including our legislatures, to see what we can do.
It was the 16th time during his 2 terms in office that the president was in front of the cameras speaking about the use of firearms and violent crimes.
The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. We are confronting yet another mass shooting. And today it happened on a military installation. Somehow this has become routine. The reporting is routine. My response here at this podium ends up being routine.
The White House is considering executive actions to put in place what it calls some limited common sense gun protections, but so far no word on details or the timetable for that. And a predictable back and forth in the White House briefing room today over measures the White House says would keep more guns off the streets and whether they would have made any difference in San Bernardino. These are hypotheticals that have been discussed here in the briefing room before, Jay.
Joe Johns at the White House, thanks. Sources are now telling CNN that the male shooter had apparently been radicalized at some point. It's unclear when he became a zealot or by whom he was inspired, but how could a seemingly ordinary American become a warped devotee of extremist terrorist ideologies? Let's talk about this all with an expert on radicalization.